Hello, class. The focus this week is on building a foundation for adult learning and looking at different theories, different models, and the history of adult learning. So the focus is going to be on the history and evolution of adult learning, different adult learning theories, then finally the andragogy model. So adult learning is a relatively new field of study or field of research, and I would say really has become more prominent in the last 50 or so years as we begin to realize that adults don't learn in the same manner or fashion as children, in which much of education has been based on. And initially, adult learning was based or founded or focused on pedagogy and then also psychology, and how psychologists viewed learning is how we viewed adult learning. And I've included a couple articles in here to that help emphasize those points. And as I said, it also focused on pedagogy, and the pedagogical approach is what was used for adult learning. Well, over the years, theories began to develop as we sat back and thought about what is the best way to educate adults. And a theory that has emerged and become very prominent is andragogy by Knowles, and it's something that this course is based on. I think all of adult education follows some sort of a andragogy model or shares a lot of similarities with that. The other thing that has really impacted adult learning is technology, and what it's done is it's provided more avenues for adult learners. It's also provided opportunities for adult learners to learn anywhere, to be able to juggle their current situations and continue to learn, whether that's in an educational setting or a workplace setting. And as I just noted, andragogy is I would say the leading theory, but there are other theories out there, including self-directed learning, or the idea that adult learners take on their own initiative to learn. For example, you all in this class, you have taken the initiative to learn. You do not have to go to school as compared to my daughter who's in pre-K, and she has to go to school every day and she's in a learning environment. You guys do not have to learn, and you guys are taking the initiative to actually do that. There's also transformational learning, and that occurs when you think about themselves in a different light in their world, and you shift to consciousness and you realize, okay, I need to do something different here, and that's when learning occurs. Then finally, as I mentioned, in their pedagogy, and that's more of the education-based approach that we're used to, or that my daughter experiences in her pre-K classroom. As we go down here, there's been a lot written on the difference between pedagogy and andragogy, and here is a really good chart that I found that highlights the differences between the two. And for those of you that are in the classroom, probably can relate to that pedagogy and the idea where the teacher is at center stage and learning is depending upon the instructor providing the information, where in andragogy it's a lot more self-directed learning, again, as you see how that theory ties into andragogy. And also the role of the learner's experience with adult learners. You have a great deal of experience when you come into the classroom, and you bring those experiences with you, and that doesn't necessarily occur when you're thinking about elementary, middle, high school level. Also the readiness to learn. It's certainly different when you compare the two, as far as students are told what they have to learn, and you say this is what you have to learn if you want to go from the 6th grade to the 7th grade, whereas with adult learners, you're able to assess gaps and realize what needs to be learned. You have your orientation of learning, where how do they go about actually learning. With adult learners, it's more task orientated, to solve a problem, to change something, and it needs to be relevant, real tasks. So as we go through this class and start thinking about different strategies, we need to keep these type of things in mind. And we also have the motivation to learn. Again, for adults, it's that self-esteem. It's The motivation is intrinsic and it's in you, and you have that desire to learn. As I said before, you chose to be in this class. You did not have to go back to school. You had the option to do something else, and you should be motivated to do well in the class because it's of interest to you and it will benefit you. Whereas in pedagogy, it's more, it could be external conditions such as grades or getting into a good college, those type of things. And for adults, it's more of that internal intrinsic motivation. The last component we're going to look at is the andragogy in practice model developed by Knowles, Holton, and Swanson. And then the idea behind this is really at the heart of adult learning and something we're going to refer to throughout the semester. And the idea of these core principles that guide andragogy and also adult learning. The idea that learners need to know why, what, and how. The self-concept of the learner. It's autonomous. It's self-directing. You don't have to walk an adult learner's hand or guide them through the entire process. They can do it on their own. You can provide them with materials and they can have at it. Prior experience is important as far as for resources and mental models. Again, you all have your own experiences, your own train of thought, your own way you've learned in the past, and all that influences how you go about learning. The readiness to learn, it is a developmental task. It is life related. Your readiness to learn is based off your life and based off what's important to you. Your orientation to learning is problem-centered, contextual. It's in your world. It's related to what you are doing in your current position, whether or not the benefits are there for you or not. I would assume most of you are in this course to better yourself, to gain opportunities somewhere, whether it's in your current organization or in another organization. And then you also have your motivation to learn and that intrinsic value, the idea of learning for the sake of learning, and the idea that you are motivated to learn internally and you're not looking for a grade or something along those lines. So all those factors influence how we go about learning as adults. We also have individual and situational differences, but we'll get into that more in a couple weeks, same way with the goals and purposes for learning. But this is a good model to look over, to analyze, because we will be spending a great deal of time referring to it throughout the semester and as we begin to develop some instructional strategies for adult learners.